Hello, Hugh Grant fans, and welcome to Hugh's News, a Taking Hugh for Granted bonus podcast. Hugh's News aims to keep you right up to date with everything Hugh Grant, from an announcement he's signed on to do a new project, right down to him doing a particularly saucy tweet. If it's big Hugh Grant news, we want you to know about it. The big news today is that Hugh Grant is going to star in the new Netflix film called Death to 2021, which is due to release at the end of this year. I'm Diggory, and to discuss this with me, I'm joined by my fellow Horse and Hound correspondent, Oscar Beardmore-Gray. Oscar, how the bloody hell are you doing today, mate?
I'm very excited, Diggs. These days don't come along that often anymore. But Hugh is due to be back on our screens in less than a month.
We're back. We're back, baby. We're back. Because I was going to ask you this. It says Death to 2021. It's just you mentioned that. These days don't come around very often. 2021 for Hugh Grant. It's been a bit of a barren, featureless wasteland.
It has. I mean, I don't know. Well, we know he's been filming, hasn't he? That's
true.
So it's sort of a lot of undisclosed events that have been going on. But in terms of actually on-screen content, it has been a barren, featureless wasteland.
Exactly, which just isn't. It's not good enough. And so this is because, like you were just saying, we haven't done a Hughes News in ages. But that's because there's been nothing to fucking talk about.
I know. Yeah, I mean, when was the last time we did Hughes News? I'm trying to. I think it was maybe the announcement of him doing Dungeons and Dragons, which was like 9 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. And even that film, we've got to wait until I think 2023 for that. We also talked about the other film he's got coming out, which was then called Five Eyes, the one with Guy Ritchie, but then they changed the name. It was untitled for a while. And then what's it called again? I can't remember.
It's now called Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, which my French isn't good enough, but it doesn't guerre mean war in French.
Oh, nice. Sick. I mean, that
so
does sound
anyway,
quite lit, then.
I mean, they made it sound, I guess, more fancy, the name.
Yeah.
I think you know this, Diggs, that I'm less than convinced that this film is going to be any good, but we will see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mainly I'm skeptical of any film with Jason Statham in it, to be honest with you.
There are people wringing their fists right now at you. They're so annoyed. They're like, "What? Jason Statham is an absolute acting legend. The fact he's been snubbed for every Oscar in the history of Oscars is a tragedy and a farce."
So it's a bit like you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's two actors who should have won an Oscar teaming up together. I love that.
Exactly. This will be Hugh Grant's The Revenant, I'm sure, and he'll finally get his Oscar.
Yes.
But let's talk about that and more talk about this. Death to 2021. We're back, baby. We're back. So we had Death to 2020 last year, Netflix's mockumentary, which took a little look back at the worst year, perhaps maybe in history.
Now, of course, all this division, all this intractable conflict was tearing humankind asunder at the worst possible time. Because, of course, at the very moment that we were preoccupied with fighting each other, the coronavirus was steadily bearing down upon us. Now, those who've closely studied the history books, such as myself, knew that this was strongly reminiscent of the time the White Walkers led their army of the dead towards the warring factions of Westeros.
So you mean like in Game of Thrones?
No, I am discussing history.
I'm pretty sure that was Game of Thrones.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I am a historian here. Cut to a map or something.
And now they're going to do another one. They say, a year unlike any other in history, excluding the last one in brackets. So to celebrate, Netflix brings you Death 2021, a comedy event that tells the story of another dreadful year. What are you expecting from this?
Well, I mean, I really liked Death to 2020. It was a lot of fun. I thought Hugh's character, Tennyson Foss, who... so for those who haven't watched Death to 2020, Hugh Grant played this sort of... How would you say it? A kind of a history professor who has views that you might expect a history professor to have.
Yes. Views as old as the history that he is researching, basically.
Yeah. So he has this brilliant like white hair.
Yeah.
And he wears a tweed jacket, and he's sort of conspiring about all the conspiracies that you could possibly think up of.
Yeah.
He was a really good character, and I honestly think that Hugh threw a lot of his own kind of wit into that.
Exactly.
And so I think I'm expecting him to reprise his previous role, which is cool because I don't think everyone else in the cast was either wanted to come back or invited back, because we got a few new characters this year. I think we got Lucy Liu, a few people, a guy from The Good Place. I'm not really familiar with that show, but there's a few new characters, and I think
new faces.
Is Samuel L. Jackson coming back too?
Not that I can see. This is what I mean. Yeah, it feels like you say, it feels like most people have moved on, but Hugh Grant stuck around. So it makes sense if he's a historian again. However, I was thinking, as much as I love Tennyson Foss, and his performance was actually really, really good, like really good, because as well, my issue with Death 2020 is sometimes I think the lines weren't great, but he did great with what he was given, basically, and he made them good. It would kind of be quite fun if he played an entirely new character. I just always like to see that because that'd be fun. But if he does reprise the same role, brilliant, because he played it great. It'll be fun to be back with that, racist bastard guy. He was just a deplorable historian character, and it was great fun to be back with him.
Perfect.
What did you think of the advert? Did you watch the trailer?
I watched the trailer. Yeah, I just now. So, what is that actor's name?
She's called Diane Morgan, and she's fucking hilarious.
She is very funny. She was a bit of a star of the last one. She plays kind of like your average person on the street who's not very, who's a bit thick and doesn't really know what's going on. I don't know. 2021 has been kind of shit in many ways, but I don't know exactly what they're gonna. I guess they're gonna just talk about like it hasn't been as bad as 2020. So I just don't. I'm not quite sure like exactly the points they're gonna hit on. Like obviously the pandemic is still be going on, and it's in some regard the year has been bad, but there's been other good things. We had Donald Trump being booted. We had
but do you remember what happened just before that? We had the storming of the Capitol building.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's definitely going to be the thing they start on, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
And I guess Donald Trump being booted was 2020, really.
Yeah, I suppose.
The election was 2020.
But the thing is, I think the storming of the Capitol building, what's that, the 4th or 6th of January or something, I think.
That's the perfect opening.
It's the perfect opening, because it really is, like, it's batshit crazy. Any of those in the UK, I would recommend watching a documentary called 4 Hours at the Capitol. It is harrowing. When you actually... I don't think we realised over here how intense that day at the Capitol was, and, the toll it took on the people that were there and all the crazy stuff that went down. I was weeping by the end of that film, and it was so good. Anyway,
hopefully you'll be weeping by the end of this one.
Yeah, but hopefully with joy and laughter. But yeah, you are right, because I was thinking, what would they... It's funny, I was thinking, like, what would they go for? And when I was trying to look up this film to see, what it says on IMDb or whatever, it doesn't look like there's an IMDb page yet or a Wikipedia page. But so when you type in Death to 2021, all you find, it just has lists of notable people who died in 2021.
Yes, I looked at it, I found that too. I was like, oh, brilliant, they got a Wikipedia page. Like, hold on.
This is a list of... I was like, oh, the new characters. And I was like, but there's a lot of them. And I was like, oh, no, these are deaths. These are all people that died. Oh, God, that's made me think they'll go on... They will talk about Alec Baldwin, won't they?
They probably will. And I think... I reckon Hugh is going to have a good laugh at making fun of all the England fans who stormed the stadium in...
Oh, yes. At the World
2020.
Cup. That's a really good point, yeah. Wow. Well, so there's a lot to be said there, but yeah, the advert it's really like the trailer is quite small. It's contained. It's Diane Morgan just being silly and funny for a bit.
I was pretty lonely in lockdown, so instead of just crying on my own all night and all day and at weekends, I thought I'd try a dating app. Only swiping men in masks to be on the safe side. I even went on some Zoom dates, which are actually good because they can be really efficient. What did you do before you were furloughed? And that question goes to man number one. I got on quite well with one of them. We even had a bit of a cuddle.
But it feels like the production value already has been upped a little bit. I feel like we might see a bit more going on in these... Because before it was just talking heads, I wonder whether we're going to get a bit more of the background of what Tennyson Foss is like.
That would
Tennyson
be cool,
Foss's life is actually like. You know,
yes.
yeah.
I would love to see him, like, you know, walking around the university doing it. Maybe he's going to be cancelled at university, a bit like that university professor who recently got cancelled at Brighton University.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Or just Jordan Peterson, who got cancelled a lot at his university. Or I think I said this in our review of Death 2020. I think Hugh Grant is meant to be. I think he's meant to be David Starkey.
Oh, yeah, you said that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he was cancelled in 2021, so I'm sure that would be funny if he was finally cancelled in this one. That'd be amazing. Yeah, that's what I kind of hope they do with this, because like you say, like, if they don't have much to go off on the year itself, it would be fun if they did, of course, talk about the year, but they throughout as well had like story arcs of these characters, because like you say, now we've come to like them, I kind of want to know what their lives are like in the background. And that's what this advert to me seemed to suggest. It was Diane Morgan's character talking about what she'd been up to in lockdown, and you know how she'd been going on Zoom dates, and to like get through men really quickly, she'd have like 3 men all on a date with her at once. It was just quite funny. So yeah, I hope there's more of that, because that is really fun, and it doesn't need to be necessarily as tied to the events and the true life that's going on. So that could be really fun.
I mean, I guess the question is, Diggs, are we looking at a franchise here? Because to be honest, like if this stuff goes on, it's probably going to go on for a couple more years. So we might well have a sort of 5-year. A 5-year life cycle of this, and
exactly.
having Hugh in something every Christmas, I have to say, I'm not complaining about that. That's like a little Christmas present every year.
Yeah, absolutely not. And even better, it's almost like you've had Christmas, and then your auntie's come round, and she gives you Christmas presents. You're like, fucking hell, Christmas keeps coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a little present after Christmas. It's beautiful. I wonder, this could be the start of a new franchise. Hugh Grant, this could be the new Star Wars, and Hugh Grant is the helm of it. You know, he's like the one of the only constants in it. Him and Joe Keery from Stranger Things. Joe Keery will be reprising his role. I believe so. That's
I like
what I've
that
seen.
Guy.
Yeah, he's a very cool guy. I wasn't so fussed about his character was like the streamer,
sort of
YouTuber
sucks,
dude. Yeah, it kind of sucked. So this is kind of why I hope they shuffle the characters up a bit, maybe just to give, or at least, you know, write some better lines for him, guys. What I would say about Death 2020 as well is that I remember when I saw the writers list on it, and they got a load of new writers and new talent on there. And I know I've had to go at the writing a bit, but I actually really, really do rate the fact that they, especially for people in the UK, they got a lot of these new exciting people on, and they gave some of them their first writing credits ever. I hope they do the same thing here, because it's really given those people a platform to go on. And it's exciting, even if it isn't, you know, even if I wasn't the biggest fan of it, like, I do think it's really good and really positive, because it's a huge deal. Netflix, Charlie Brooker, Hugh Grant starring. Like, it's really exciting. So
doesn't get bigger than that.
Exactly. That's what I hope for more of again. But yeah, anything else to say?
I don't know. Is there anything else you're speculating about, Diggs? I mean, we haven't, to be honest, been given too much to go on. So I assume that in the next couple of weeks we'll be getting a little bit more info. Although it sort of seems like the kind of thing that just drops. You know, it'll just drop.
Exactly.
And everyone, it'll be trending on Twitter.
Yeah,
and,
everyone will love it.
Yeah, and then we'll have to review it probably the first week of January.
Yeah, exactly. Get that out to you guys straight away. Well, yeah, I guess because that's the thing. There's not also too much they can really leak. I mean, there might be another trailer or something. Perhaps we'll talk about that. But otherwise, I imagine it'll be more of the same. Found footage from 2021, silly characters talking about it, and us watching it and loving it.
Exactly.
Well, shall we sign off?
Let's sign off.
Another episode of Hughes News, always an absolute pleasure. An emergency Hughes News this week as well. We had to get in and get on.
Yes, yeah,
exactly.
It was a you know, a quick. When should we do this? Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Horse and Hound correspondents got together.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you also for joining us for this emergency Hughes News. Enjoy yourselves wherever you are, and we will see you for another episode of Taking You for Granted very soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This is the end of Hughes News. We hope you feel very Hughes News about Hugh Grant. Hughes News, and everything is very Hughes News. And now it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Hughes News is a Taking Hugh for Granted production
and is produced, edited and presented by Diggory Waite and Oscar Beardmore Gray. The producers of Taking Hugh for Granted would like to state that this podcast is in no way associated with the actor Hugh John Mungo Grant, nor does it endorse his views or represent him in any way. Instead, by creating this podcast, Oscar and Diggory hope to celebrate Hugh's illustrious career, reliving his old classics and shedding light on some of his hidden gems. Hugh, if you're listening, we hope you approve.